All right, everybody. Welcome to another live recording of the Managing Partners Podcast. I'm Kevin Daisy, and I'll be your host, also the founder of Array Digital, where we help law firms grow through digital marketing. Today, I got a special guest coming out of Connecticut, Brian Woolf. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, thanks for joining me today and to share more about you, your story, and how you operate your firm there. So, we just want to dive right in and get started. Yeah, I always like to know why you became an attorney and what that trigger was, what that experience was like.
Well, let me say this: from the day I was born, and I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, and a child, I was told by all of my family that I need to be an attorney. So I grew up in Johannesburg, South Africa. I left South Africa in 1967 after graduating high school. Moved to Israel prior to the Six-Day War, beginning in 1967. I then went on to undergraduate school at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, got my undergraduate degree there. I followed that by coming to the United States, where I got a master's degree from the University of Pennsylvania, and then came to Connecticut to go to law school, went to UConn Law School. Following my period of time at the UConn Law School, I had no idea what area of practice I was going to practice in. I then was fortuitous to have been appointed by the governor as the Commissioner of Banking and Securities for the state of Connecticut, which I served from 1980 to 1985. But before that, I served my predecessor as his chief legal counsel and executive assistant. I basically had complete supervision over the securities division of the Connecticut Department of Banking, in addition to my responsibilities to the commissioner. And during that period of time, I then subsequently became commissioner when he passed away very early in life, unfortunately. And the governor appointed me initially as acting and then as commissioner. I guess my claim to fame is that, if you may recall, you may be too young to remember that, E.F. Hutton and Company. When E.F. Hutton speaks, everyone listens. The largest investment banking brokerage firm in the country, headed up by George Ball, the former Secretary of State for the United States. I was the first securities regulator to call hearings, in which I was represented at those hearings by the Attorney General, who happened to be Joe Lieberman, who became United States Senator and then subsequently Vice President nominee under Al Gore. And I brought an order to cease and desist against E.F. Hutton, which snowballed in the other states. And I'm not proud to say that, or happy to say that eventually it led to the demise of E.F. Hutton. I was known as a very strong securities regulator, but I think a fair securities regulator. But then I also had all the banks under my jurisdiction as well. Banks, savings and loans, savings banks, credit unions, consumer credit, truth in lending laws, you name it. I had that. It was a very, very tumultuous time in the 80s. Because there was a lot of banks and savings loans, particularly going out of business. I was dealing with the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, Federal Savings and Home Loan Bank, Federal Savings Loan Insurance Company, the National Credit Union Administration, and the Securities and Exchange Commission on the securities side. So I had a very active time during my period of, I served in that. And then when I left there, I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I mean, as a banking commissioner, I had to but bring investigations on white-collar criminal matters, which I worked with the criminal authorities in Connecticut. And when I left there, I wasn't quite sure. I decided to go out in the private business for a while, in the real estate business. It was those days when Ronald Reagan came into power, and they changed the tax laws, so there was no more passive income and there was no benefit in some ways to that. Caused a lot of problems, and I decided to leave that area which is a real estate area, and go into law. And I opened up myself primarily into solo practice in my living room of my home initially. Fortunately for me, I became familiar with a lot of prosecutors and people like that, and they suggested, why don't you try practicing criminal law? This was approximately 30 plus years ago. And I started taking on a couple of clients, had no idea what I was doing. And I've come to this place today as the managing attorney for the Woolf Law Firm.
Wow, but that's quite the story and rap sheet and experiences that you've had. So you just jump right in and got a lot of different experiences. It sounds like. And just so you know, I was born in the 80s, 1982. I was the early 80s, but still, I was pretty young at that point. But no, so what an awesome experience you've had, and I'm sure that all that prepared you for what you do now, and going into criminal sounds like it made a lot of sense, as your colleagues and friends suggested. So you say 35 years.
It's a little over 30 years. I started in approximately my own private practice in 1995.
Okay. Excellent. Well, congrats on the success you've had, and again, I think it's just an interesting journey you've had to get to where you are, and so we'll talk a little bit more about the practice itself that you have now. So, you say do you focus on the state of Connecticut? Do you have certain areas that you really focus on? What does that look like?
Well, I'm admitted to practice, obviously, in Connecticut, both state and federal. I'm admitted to practice in Florida. I'm admitted in the federal courts in New York. I'm admitted in the state and federal courts in Massachusetts as well.
Excellent.
I focus primarily on Connecticut, but I do venture out to Massachusetts sometimes. I've done some things in Florida, but my primary area of practice, while I do some personal injury, it was got a catastrophic personal injury. I don't focus on soft tissue issues. Refer those out usually. I would say that the clients that are most attracted to me and I'm most attracted to handling are clients which we call, the high profile type of clients. I don't take on too many misdemeanor charges. I'll do them once in a while, but I don't personally handle them. Most of my cases are murders, rape, sexual assaults, home invasions, things of that kind.
Okay.
I do that. I'm a member of the Connecticut Criminal Defense Lawyers Association. I'm their liaison with the Connecticut Department of Corrections. So I assist all my colleagues with respect to issues they have over there. I try to do as much as I can. I'm very active in the criminal law section of the Connecticut Bar Association. And I try to do my best at my age. I'm going to be 75 in September. I just turned 74 and a half.
I was going to guess 45.
Well, thank you.
The most.
I have not colored my hair. I want to let you know that. This is natural hair.
I like it.
So there's my staff. We're not a big firm. I mean, there's a couple of lawyers, a paralegal who is very well trained in the area of paralegal. So when you've got a really high-powered paralegal that knows what she is doing, it's very helpful. I have an attorney who's off counsel to my office, of a former prosecutor in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, David Lamassa. I often, if I'm going to a big trial, I will get someone on a contract basis to assist in those matters. I work very closely. I could call them sort of like an in-house private investigation firm who I use on every case, which I think is necessary. I have all my experts usually, whether it be forensic experts, whether it be experts on excessive use of force or things of that kind. I have access to all of them. So everything's in place. It's a question of putting everything together. And it's very interesting, and it's very time consuming, and it's very, I always compare myself to a doctor. I'm sure you've heard this before. We save lives. We're saving freedoms. And whether it's a small case or a big case, we try to treat our clients with the utmost of respect. I can't say there aren't clients which we don't, sometimes the chemistry doesn't work, and it happens. But we try to give our clients the best possible information that we can. We assess their cases from day one. We give them our best assessment of what we believe can be done, but we're
Right.
also very frank with them that the case that the state has against the person is either weak or strong or what we can do, and we put everything into writing. And that I think is very important. On my testimonials you'll see on my website, you will see most of the testimonials
Oh yeah.
state very clearly that what they appreciated most is that I don't BS anybody. I'm very blunt and transparent. I tell them I'd rather you not hire me and go somewhere else. But I'll tell you, you'll probably be back to me later if you get advice different from mine.
Well, actually, everyone that's tuning in and watching right now, the website address is down on your screen. If you're watching this on video, you can go take a look at Brian's website and see more about him, the testimonials. I always encourage if there's referral possibilities, maybe someone else in Connecticut or nearby that has a client need that they can't fulfill, reach out to Brian. But ConnecticutCriminalLawyer.com if you're listening on the podcast. So again, ConnecticutCriminalLawyer.com. And yeah, I think what you said there, Brian, too, is really important. One I got out of that was you assess it day one. So urgency, you respond with urgency, and then you're transparent and candid, if you will. And I think that's important, especially in your line of work, that it's not sugar-coated. It's here's the facts, here's what I believe, and you don't have that person assuming a best case scenario.
Well, I give best and worst, but obviously I explain myself. A lot of people say, well, how will this thing end up? And I say, well, look, I'm going to give you an analogy. You call a doctor on the phone and tell the doctor you have a major pain in your stomach and you want to know what's wrong with you. And the doctor tells you, meet me at the operating room tomorrow morning. I'm going to operate on you. What would you say to that doctor? What, are you crazy? You haven't done your MRIs. You haven't done your x-rays. You haven't done the blood work or anything like that. I can't do that. So from day one, I can assess a case, but you never can really assess a case until you get all the discovery. Arrest warrants, police incident reports, things of that kind. And get your private investigators involved if it's a case that's requires the involvement of private investigators to do your private investigative work and stuff. But when it comes to the end, and it comes to the time where an offer is made to resolve the matter, you have to give the client a transparent understanding of what the weaknesses and strengths of their case are, what the weaknesses and strengths of the state case are. And if you take it to trial, this is what could happen. And this is, if you lose, this is what could happen. And there is a trial penalty, unfortunately. You resolve a matter, that's one thing. You go to trial, you got to get close to the maximum, what you charged and we don't have indictments in Connecticut. Federal courts have indictments, but the state courts in Connecticut do not have indictments. Everything's by information. Excellent.
Well, again, I think that's for a client standpoint, I think it's communication and being transparent and telling them what they need to hear is really important. And so, and I think we have clients at a law firm, so I think the biggest issue I ever see is that clients don't know what's going on, or they're not updated. They don't get the right information, and then they're just wondering what's happening with their case. So I think that's really important.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen with us. We
have it sounds like it.
Open case list that's made on every Monday when we know what's going on with these cases, and I can assure most people and most clients that we will communicate, we'll initiate communications, and if they contact me, I do not leave my office until I get back to them.
Well, that's awesome.
8 o'clock at night.
Well, good on you for all that and providing just a good service. My next question would be, how do you all get clients? What's worked well? Any marketing you've done, anything outbound that you've done that's been effective at getting prospective clients to call?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I will. I would say that 40 to 50% of my clients come through referrals from former clients of mine. The other, I've never been a big advertiser. I don't advertise on TV. I don't put up billboards. I won't even hand out my cards when I go to court. Okay. I have most of my stuff is done through my website, and my website's I believe it's got good SEO. People seem to
Like
get
that.
to me. I have a good. I come up pretty well on Google. My SEO appears to be working for me from those who are doing it for me. My blogs are 4 blogs a month we do,
Nice.
uh,
Very good.
but
You're preaching to the choir over here.
excuse me.
You're preaching to the choir. So, we do digital marketing
I
for law
understand.
firms, and that's all those things you're saying are, I think, crucial and critical, especially in your space. So I'm happy to hear that you're doing that.
Well, I've been super lawyer for 5, 6 years in a row right now, and that. But let's not kid each other. Super lawyer is good, but we know where we know it is. Okay,
Yeah.
I did just agree to Martindale Hubble Law.com to a 1 year for that. I mean, I got nothing to lose, but at the age of 75, quite honestly, I want to leave this something for the others that work in the office when I decide to retire to Florida, which is why I took the bar back in 78.
I
Because
was going to ask you about that.
that's where I want to be. I want to be by the sun. The South African blood is too. The winter in Connecticut is not for me. I thought I'd leave a long time ago, but I want to be able to leave this. And if I want to sell the business, I have an asset here. And if I don't sell the business, I want to be able to remain a named partner of the firm, and continue like that. But uh, as I said, to answer your question, most of my stuff comes from referral of other clients, equal amount from my website.
That's excellent. Well, thanks for explaining that. And I think, I'm a huge believer in component of SEO because that's one of the things that we do. But it builds a foundation. If you're no longer practicing or you want to sell or give it to the employees or whatever, that'll last for a good long time. And so I just think it's important for folks to invest in that. So that's good to hear it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're born in the 80s, 75. And when I was going to elementary school and high school, we didn't have even copy machines. There was still the old Castechna machines where you put things in. So was never that tech savvy. I've had to learn a lot, but I'm not tech savvy. I have IT people who handle all my tech stuff. My other staff members know how to handle tech stuff, but I don't. I mean, I have my iPhone. Uh, I was even scared to put my earpods in my ear because I wasn't sure it was going to be compatible with this. Yes, I did. I won't do that. But so fortunately, I have a good support staff, excellent support staff, and I think that's one of the key things. You can't, we don't use specific programs like Clio or anything else like that. We have our own built-in systems that we
For case management.
Case management, yeah.
Excellent. Well, I mean, but the thing is, you've adapted, you've allowed some change to come in, and that's worked out well for you. And I think, some older firms and people have been around for a while, they're reluctant to do any change. So
it's not easy. You have to put your mind to it to learn how to do it.
Yeah, excellent. Well, awesome. So yeah, I was going to ask you about the Florida bar because I was thinking, I bet he wants to go to Florida at some point. Any plans? Any plans anytime soon? Have you got an area that you love?
Yeah, I like the Palm Beach County area.
Beautiful.
I used to have a house at the PGA golf course in Palm Beach Gardens during when the kids were young and things of that kind. But as soon as I didn't want to move there because the Florida school systems were not what I wanted for my kids. So, so I sold the place, and now it's time to go. But I made that decision a long time ago. I took the bar in Connecticut in 1977, and then I took the bar in Florida the following year.
Oh, wow. So it's something you've been thinking about for a while.
Oh, yes.
I'm actually going to Palm Beach next week to the Breakers.
I've been to the Breakers. Outstanding resort.
Yeah.
And if you're in the area there, go to a restaurant in Palm Beach Gardens called Cooper's. It's owned by a very good friend of mine. His name is Richard Rosenthal. He owns a chain of restaurants. He's actually just retired. Cooper's in Palm Beach Gardens. Outstanding restaurant. They own 9 other restaurants up here in Connecticut and Massachusetts. I've known Richard since he started his first one, Richard Rosenthal.
Excellent.
So we enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate the recommendation for that. I will definitely check that out. So yeah, we love Florida too, and I'm sure we'll end up down there at some point as well. But Massachusetts, I get to come up there every once in a while. My wife's company is based out of Boston, so.
Well, if you're up here, just give me a call. We'll get together. Be happy to.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Brian, is there anything else you wanted to share that you got going on? I know we were talking a little bit backstage, and you were mentioning how often you get to talk to the media that wants to talk to you all the time. Give us a little idea of what that's like.
Well, whenever there's any high-profile cases, the media will often, whether it be our local NBC station or our local Fox station, national media has contacted me as well with respect to some cases that have made the national news, and I'm regarded as someone who they can call to speak with. I've been
Excellent.
a commentator for some of those NBC and Fox stations, I'm, as I said, I was known for my days when I had to deal with the press on a daily basis in the 80s.
Yeah.
I still have lots of friends in the media. I believe and I hope that they don't call me just because they knew me, because I hope that they know. I think I know what I'm talking about, and it's a privilege for when you do get that. It's a kind of a recognition when they call you to comment on some major cases. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of the Doulos case and in Connecticut where the wife was killed and his fiance were involved with that, and I've often asked to talk about that. We have a case now which is called the Fitbit murder case, which is right now being on trial.
Like Fitbit, like a watch?
Yeah, well, basically he's accused of killing his wife, and he says he didn't kill his wife, but his Fitbit said otherwise. Okay.
Oh wow.
So that's on trial. Trial, I believe, starts next week.
Wow.
On that, so they called me to talk about that. Obviously, I don't know too much about. I don't try to second guess my colleagues on these cases. I will talk generally about the procedure and the process of selecting juries, of what the state has to do, what kind of things the defense lawyers have to do, and what's going on a particular day when it's sometimes information which is above and beyond what an average layperson can understand. I try to put it to layperson's terms.
Yeah, I'm sure you got to be careful about what you say and how you say it too. But be good exposure, I would assume, especially.
I can say anything about what I want about other cases. I just can't say a lot in the press about my cases.
Yeah, there you go. So that's great exposure, I assume, too, for you locally, and that probably helps with a lot of the referrals that you get and some of the leads you probably get as well. So that's excellent.
I can't complain about the incoming leads, the phones, emails. My website has a contact where you can contact me directly from my website. You can do everything on my website. I interview people via Zoom. You can pay me on my client portal from my website. It's all there.
Well, Brian, I thank you so much for sharing everything with me today, and love your story. And hopefully you'll be getting down to Florida soon and relaxing a little bit. So you've had a good, amazing career, and I'm sure you're going to continue practicing for quite a while. But thanks for sharing everything today. And is there anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I thank you for having me, and please don't be a stranger. Keep in touch. Absolutely,
yeah. I will definitely check out your friend's restaurant, and I'll be in touch for sure. And maybe we can link up here soon when I'm up north, or maybe we're down in Florida at the same time. So I try to get down there as often as I can. So
sounds good to me.
Well, Brian, stay on with me for a second. Everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Learn a lot from Brian, his long career, awesome story. I think some of the takeaways, and see, he's getting leads right now calling in. Big takeaway, urgency, transparency with your clients. I think that's very important. And make sure that you're not only relying on referrals, but investing in things like SEO that's going to help you get your name out there, and people can find you that are looking for your help. You can find this episode and many others. We're probably over 250. We only have about 175 on the website at this point. We're trying to get some of those up. But if you go to raylaw.com/podcast, you can sort by state, practice area, criminal law, for instance. You can see all of our criminal law managing partners and learn from them. And then if you ever need help with marketing, SEO, the things that Brian has already done very well, that's what we do. We help law firms with their website, SEO, advertising, and things like that. So just reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll be happy to help you. And that's it. Brian?
Thank you.